From the looks of things, the fight's really close. T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. Anthony Joshua versus Charles Martin, April the 9th, 2016, is looking really likely. And if it doesn't happen, it's going to leave a lot of people asking, well, what went wrong? Is it because Charles Martin doesn't want to go to the UK? Is it because Charles Martin is trying to get as much money as he possibly can? Because with a fight like this, Charles Martin right now is not a champion, in my opinion. No disrespect, he's a title holder. I mean, before the Zara Glaskov fight, nobody really knew who he was, and his fights were untelevised. When it comes to fight footage of him on YouTube, there barely is anything, and what you do see, it's not very impressive. When it came to the Zara Glaskov fight, he won the belt from an injured fighter. So it's, right now I'm thinking he should try to get the biggest money fight he could possibly can at this point in his career, because I don't think fans can really tolerate him fighting a bunch of nobodies, really. But really, when it comes to the IBF, one thing about the IBF is built very durable to the point where if you have a mandatory, the IBF will force you to fight that mandatory or you will be stripped. Now, the IBF also, and I'm looking up the IBF rankings at heavyweight. Right now, the next in line, since Charles Martin is a champion, the next in line is Erkan Taper. Erkan Taper is right now going through some issues with steroid failed drug test. So I don't know how long the IBF is going to keep him in the rankings. Next in line is Anthony Joshua. Then after that, Carlos Takam. Then after that, Joseph Parker. Then after that, Zara Glaskov, who's injured. Then after that, Steve Cunningham, who is a fighter who's saying he's going to be going back down to cruiserweight, but still he's ranked by the IBF. Andy Ruiz, a top-ranked fighter. Bermane Stiverne, former WBC champion. Kubrat Pulev, very good fighter. Robert Helenius, undefeated wildcard fighter. Derek Chisora, former title contender and a well-known global name with fights against Vitaly Klitschko, David Haye, Tyson Fury. Alexander Ustinov, he's an okay fighter. And Dominic Breazeale. Now, when it comes to who Charles Martin will fight next, he has to fight somebody who's ranked out of those names. He can't fight. Put it this way. The IBF rankings, in my opinion, are stronger than the WBC rankings at heavyweight. When you're a heavyweight fighter and you're a champion, you have to fight someone in the rankings. So when it comes to those names, Charles Martin has to fight one of those names. And who out of those names do you know that Charles Martin can beat? So I'm thinking right now, since your voluntary is going to be a tough fight, it has to be a tough fight. And then your mandatory is going to likely be Anthony Joshua, who you have to fight next year. Why not fight him now and, get the big payday, then risk maybe fighting a Carlos Takam? I mean, out of these fighters, now I'm going to run the names down to you again. He's managed, advised by Al Heyman. Out of these fighters, who do you think that he would be put against on a PBC card? I guess they would put him in the next fight on a PBC card. Maybe Showtime Championship boxing card, because he can't fight on Showbox anymore, even though he's a Showbox level fighter because he's a champion. So who out of these names would they pick for voluntary? Now, they may take 2 voluntaries before they fight Anthony Joshua if they don't fight Anthony Joshua next, because he'll be the next mandatory. So let's see. Will it be Dominic Breazeale? That's a fight that can happen. Alexander Ustinov? I don't think so, because Alexander Ustinov is already tied up in the WBA tournament. Will it be Derek Chisora? That'll be a very good fight, but a fight that Charles Martin can lose, because we don't know anything about Charles Martin. Robert Helenius, I got Robert Helenius beating Charles Martin. Kubrat Pulev, I got Kubrat Pulev beating Charles Martin. Bermane Stiverne, we don't quite know. Andy Ruiz, that fight would be very hard politically to make. Steve Cunningham, we don't know if he's fighting at cruiserweight or heavyweight still. Zara Glaskov is injured. Joseph Parker is #1 ranked by the WBO. He's also calling out Anthony Joshua. I don't think that that fight would happen. Carlos Takam. So right now, in my opinion, Charles Martin's best bet is to fight Anthony Joshua, and they should be pursuing that fight. And if that fight doesn't happen, it makes me ask, well, who is Anthony Joshua going to fight? Because he's ranked next behind Alexander Povetkin by the WBC. So basically, sometime within the next year, the WBC, unless he goes another route or wins the IBF title, somewhere along the line, the WBC is going to say, okay, well, Anthony Joshua has to fight such and such, and maybe Bermane Stiverne too, who's next to Lion, or somebody in the top 15 of the WBC for the next mandatory after Alexander Povetkin and Deontay Wilder. Or he can fight for the WBO and fight Joseph Parker. So right now, Anthony Joshua's next fight should be a very big one, and it has to be a very known name because Eddie Hearn has got him where he needed to be as far as being a title contender. And now you have a belt out there in which I feel that Anthony Joshua can beat Charles Martin. So right now you have it a bit. You could be a champion by the summer, if he fights Charles Martin. I'm thinking, why not go that route? So in my opinion, Eddie Hearn needs to be doing the best that he possibly can to make this fight and just go from there. And then if Anthony Joshua beats Charles Martin, the IBF rankings are tough. Then he can look. If Derek Chisora wins against Kubrat Pulev, he could fight the winner of Derek Chisora versus Kubrat Pulev next and start building big global fights. I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. Please subscribe.